Today's video is brought to you by Comics Elite. For the elite and exclusive variant covers, taking part in live Facebook auctions, poll lists, and signature opportunities, please check out comicselite.com. Or check out their Facebook page at Comics Elite. Don't be too slow. If you're a fan of this channel and you'd like to advertise in front of millions of eyes each month, contact us at worldclassbs@mail.com. Thebestmail.com. Now on to the video.
The following is a world-class Bullshitters exclusive.
We're just a few days out from Avengers Endgame, the spiritual ending for the MCU. But the Brie Larson saga continues to rage on, into the sun where it will hopefully burn out quickly. We've covered all the drama surrounding Captain Marvel in the last few months. From the opinions of white dude comments to the Rotten Tomatoes fiasco and everything in between, all associated with Captain Marvel star Brie Larson has been trash, including the film. Since we last talked about Hollywood's favorite pariah, a whole slew of new, unlikable moments have occurred. Now let me go back for just a moment and define a word that I rarely use here on the channel. Oh. Is that too spicy for YouTube? Well, how about that word pariah? If you don't know what it means, pariah is one that is despised or rejected, an outcast. And I'm not talking about Andre 3000. In regards to the MCU, each addition to the roster of superheroes felt natural and excited the fans. When Iron Man met Thor and Captain America, it was a moment we cheered. When Spider-Man met up with the Guardians of the Galaxy, it was a moment we cheered. But somehow, some way, the thought of Captain Marvel meeting up with the Avengers is a moment we dread. Why? Well, it's because we hate women. That's what some internet garbage can would say, and of course they're right. They're the expert, Mark. No, there are two reasons why her inclusion in Avengers Endgame is dreaded. One, because Brie Larson brings a level of negativity never before associated with Marvel. If you're a Star Wars fan, you know the drill. Brie Larson is Marvel's Rian Johnson. Not as good as Hollywood tells you, gets a pass because of the initial success of the previous film or brand, but in the long term, she's best to be forgotten. And two, it's the 11th hour and an all-powerful Deus Ex Machina, or Reus Ex Machina, if Star Wars doesn't fit. We've been on this journey since 2008 with Iron Man and the battle against Thanos since 2012. And there was no indication of Captain Marvel anywhere until Infinity War's end credit scene. Anyone got a shoehorn? I think it's pretty telling that Marvel is aware of this, and that's why they released that trailer where War Machine questions where she's been all this time. War Machine is the audience in this case, and Marvel's parent company, Disney, wants to reassure us that it's okay to give them your money. All is well.
Nothing is fucked here.
Nothing is fucked! The goddamn plane has crashed into the mountain!
Much to no one's surprise, Captain Marvel answers the question like only she can. In what can only be called the most fitting case of life imitating art, Captain Marvel's arrogant behavior has bled into the fantasy land Brie Larson calls life. In a recent interview on Entertainment Tonight, an attempt was made to integrate Captain Marvel into the mainline Avengers team by showing the lighter side of Brie Larson, the humorous side of Brie Larson, the non-existent side of Brie Larson. During some playful banter, Chris Hemsworth compares Brie Larson to Tom Cruise in regards to doing her own stunts, to which she snaps back like this.
No, I want to be the first me, not the next Tom Cruise. Thank you very much.
Well,
You know, you have to be doing something right or incredibly wrong when you make this loony bastard seem more likable than yourself. The cringe doesn't stop there, folks. Later in the video, once the awkwardness died down, the discussion about strength popped up. After some light bragging, Brie Larson told the ET interviewer that she was the strongest, to which Thor answered,
Just kind of like a different...
well, yeah, she let her think that, but yeah.
Again, incredibly awkward. I think the intention of this entire interview was to show Brie Larson as one of the Avengers, a hero that we can and should back to avoid being called sexist. As I said earlier in this video, Brie Larson is a pariah, or outcast. And it's not only because she's a late addition to the team that's being shoved down our throat, but because she's unlikable and she just can't hide it. That statement from Hemsworth really irks the piss out of her, because it's true. She's in public and is defenseless. I think the worst part, the best part about all this is the fact that she does this to herself. If anyone ever has to ask the dumb question why people dislike Brie Larson, just point them to literally any clip of hers. Now Don Cheadle tries to add a little humor with some bacon talk. Brie Larson loves bacon. Stop telling me about things I have in common with her. I don't want to like her.
Bacon dispensers.
And I don't. You don't have to be liked by everyone because
Led Zeppelin didn't write tunes that everyone liked. They left that to the Bee Gees.
But as a public figure, some goodwill goes a long way. The biggest thing I took from this ET interview was the fact that Avengers Endgame was filmed before Captain Marvel. Not a big deal, nothing groundbreaking, but it's the article from Digital Spy that has me a bit concerned about the MCU moving forward. Brie Larson weighs in on how Thanos will meet his demise in Avengers Endgame. It is really quite simple for Captain Marvel. Brie Larson has given her theory on how Thanos could meet his demise in Avengers Endgame. Appearing on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, Brie took part in a special Endgame-themed edition of Just One Question, where she was asked, what is Captain Marvel's secret for taking down Thanos? At first, Brie jokingly answered compassion, before giving the much more likely scenario of, I'm going to punch him into the sun. Meanwhile, Carol Danvers' appearance in the first full Endgame trailer has had fans asking some questions as she went toe-to-toe with Thor. While her unflinching reaction to Thor was cool, many noted that she was wearing noticeably more makeup than in the Captain Marvel movie. Addressing the reason why, director Joe Russo revealed earlier this month, we empower them to have control over their characters because they need to feel comfortable playing these characters. This was Brie's first time playing the character ever. First day on set as a character ever. Those are choices that she and her makeup team made. I think as it approached the solo Captain Marvel film, she started to think more about the character. She made other creative choices. But everyone should be given the right to have the freedom to make whatever creative choices they want to make. And those are the ones that she made that day with us. I'm not too worried about the stench of smug emanating from Brie Larson anymore. I think I'm kind of noseblind to it. But what I am genuinely worried about is the quote here. I think as it approaches the solo Captain Marvel film, she started to think more about the character. She made other creative choices. But everyone should be given the right to have the freedom to make whatever creative choices they want, and those are the ones that she made with us that day. Now, I don't care about Brie Larson's makeup. I mean, I try to look away whenever possible. She's like the Ark of the Covenant, except instead of melting your face, she castrates you. And that's not a worthwhile trade-off. This talk of creative choices worries me. Why? Well, just look at what Brie Larson wears for fun. In all honesty, what I do care about is the lack of consistency. The MCU, as well as many other franchises, have the task of telling a story and keeping continuity between films. You remember Kylo Ren's magical moving scar or Rhodey's goatee? That's what changed about him, right? Anyway, no matter the franchise, continuity is key. This article worries me because it feels like an attempt to soften the blow of any complaints pre-Endgame. Random thought though. You know how people drink before a big event and it's called pre-gaming? Is watching all the MCU flicks before the next Avengers pre-Endgaming? If so, that sounds like a fantastic way to spend time. Back to what I was saying. The article feels like a warning from the Russo brothers. It's just their way of saying, be prepared for some Captain Marvel inconsistencies. They clearly make it out to be about her makeup, which as I said earlier, doesn't bother me at all. However, I do find it funny that as Brie Larson becomes more comfortable in the role, she smiles less and looks more like a dude who just woke up. It's the sentence, I think as it approached the solo Captain Marvel film, she started to think more about the character. She made other creative choices that scares me the most, because we don't know what the other creative choices are. In a perfect world, Captain Marvel sucks in her own film, but is awesome in Endgame. But this isn't a perfect world, just an ordinary one. If you think consistency between films isn't important, and the hype outweighs reason, just remember that without consistency between MCU films, the world building couldn't have happened, and there wouldn't be an MCU to be hyped about. If you love the MCU and where it is creatively, you can't just gloss over one of the pillars of what not only makes it entertaining, but what makes it truly great. Spider-Man Homecoming springs to mind in terms of lack of internal MCU consistency in regards to the timeline, and Captain Marvel does the same thing. That's why the War Machine clip that I mentioned earlier was released. With Captain Marvel, there are just too many questions, the most important one being, why is she here? Now, if you're not a Captain Marvel fan, there may be some good news. Over on Bounding Into Comics, an article discussing Avengers Endgame's leaks popped up. Now, if you're worried about spoilers, don't be. I'm into many things, but ruining this film isn't one of them. So if you're worried you're about to hear something, you won't. Avengers Endgame leaked footage surfaces, major spoilers. A leaked video showing a number of clips that appear to be from Avengers Endgame has popped up on YouTube. The separate clips confirm a number of the alleged plot spoilers from the Reddit leak earlier this year. The almost 5-minute video showed a number of scenes that Marvel Studios and Disney had not previously released to the public through trailers, TV spots, or promotional footage. It appeared to be captured via a cell phone and feature Arabic subtitles. Now I'm stopping right there because the most important part of the article was that second sentence. The separate clips confirm a number of alleged plot spoiler leaks to Reddit earlier this year. Do you know what else was leaked on Reddit? The possibility of multiple cuts of the film with less Captain Marvel. If the leaked clips can confirm the Reddit post's validity, what makes the possibility of multiple cuts less valid? We'll know on Thursday night to some degree. We'll never get explicit confirmation of alternate cuts with the sole purpose to spare us from more larcening, i.e. sucking from all sides, because the Russos aren't Zack Snyder, thankfully. But if, and I'm hoping I'm right, Endgame isn't the Captain Marvel shitshow part 2, I'd like to think that's because Disney took the precaution or just flat out knew that fans wanted the logical finale to the Avengers and Brie Larson doesn't fit. Earlier, I talked about our lack of a perfect world. It's now been confirmed because Brie Larson is one of Time's 100 most influential people. In a sickening article from IndieWire, we learn what makes Brie Larson so influential. I'll spare you the boredom, the link is below, but I wanted to draw attention to the main point written by Valkyrie star Tessa Thompson. Thompson also wrote that her Avengers Endgame co-star is a warrior on and off screen. When she's not shattering records and stereotypes as Captain Marvel in Marvel Studios' first female-led superhero movie, which made more than $1 billion at the global box office, she's fighting fiercely for gender equality, inclusivity, and an end to sexual harassment at the workplace. That's nice, Tessa, but let's not forget the trailblazer Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman, a film from the distant past of mid-2017 that broke all those stereotypes and did it with class. Brie Larson is the modern-day Katherine Heigl. She's the it girl of early 2019, but one day, she'll be an afterthought. They'll put her on lists, put her in movies, and put her in front of you, constantly. But as time goes on and we learn more about her true personality, the only place she'll be is put out to pasture. So what are your opinions of Brie Larson? I've made it pretty clear how I feel about her here on the channel. I didn't think she did a good job as Captain Marvel, and the more I see her, the less I like her. Now, you don't have to kiss the fans' ass or be fake, but you should at least be decent and tolerable. It's funny, she has all these talks about inclusivity and tolerance, etc., but she's the least tolerant person of all. A joke, she doesn't know the definition. Fun, she doesn't know the definition. But hey, she won an Oscar, so that makes her better than everyone else. I disagree. But I wanted to share some anecdotal evidence about Captain Marvel. So I was recently at a family party, and they know what I do for a living. And the topic of Captain Marvel came up, and I said I didn't really like it, 5 out of 10 at best. 2 of my female cousins, who share the same name, both said similar things. The first female cousin, who's about 22, said, "I'm not into that feminist shit in movies, I just want to have a good time." And the second, who's about 13, said, "I didn't really like Captain Marvel, I didn't think it was very good." And I asked them why, and they gave me reasons. I just found it funny that my 13-year-old cousin, who the media wants to act like is the prime target for the Captain Marvel film, didn't buy into their bullshit. And she's a smart kid. Now that has nothing to do with her taste in this one movie. I'd consider her smart even if she did like it. But it's nice to know that the hype of Captain Marvel didn't really work on regular women. Now, Captain Marvel made $1 billion, and that's fine. I'm not going to hide from that fact, never have. But remember, it made $1 billion because of that red logo that says Marvel. Not because of Brie Larson, and not because Captain Marvel is a superhero that everyone loves. As I said, most people don't know who she is, and only saw the film because it ties into the Avengers and everything else. Now I know some of you out there have less interest in Avengers Endgame because of Brie Larson, and that is your right. If you don't want to see it, you don't have to. You can't be guilted into seeing a movie. And some people, like my older cousin, weren't guilted into seeing Captain Marvel. But I still have some interest, most interest, in Avengers Endgame. As I said on the podcast this previous week, the Brie Larson stuff has slightly lowered my interest in purchasing Avengers Endgame merchandise. Without her stupid comments, my hype was at an 11 out of 10. I could not wait. The more and more she spoke, the lower it went. Now, it's probably about an 8 out of 10, so I'm going to see it. I have a ticket, expect the review this Thursday night. But I was sitting at breakfast one morning and I thought, man, Avengers, I'm pumped. And I saw some pictures come out of the Avengers Endgame hot toys. Thanos, Iron Man, Captain America. And if you're a collector, you know how pricey those things can be. And I thought to myself, I think this is the Avengers film that I'm going to pick up the merchandise, the high-end merchandise for. And then more Brie Larson stuff came out, and that interest waned very, very quickly. So it's not going to hurt the box office for Avengers with my personal feelings, but it did take away about $700 in merchandise sales from the film. So I just want Disney and everyone out there that hears this channel to know, personally, as a guy who has no problem dropping money on high-end merchandise, Brie Larson has basically caused me to close my wallet indefinitely on any future MCU purchases. But that's just me. But I want to know what you guys think, so tell me in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and share it all over social media. If you're a super fan of this channel, get involved with our Patreon page. We just overhauled it. We have a bunch of new patrons, and we're working on content all the time for you guys. This Thursday night, after the Avengers Endgame, what we're going to do is go over and give our bonus podcast, World Class Bullshitters After Hours, where we're going to discuss the ranking of all the MCU flicks. We have a master list. We did it with math because Kendo's a math whiz. We have an Excel sheet, and we're going to break it down. We have our scores, and we're going to tell you our ranking of every MCU flick in order from lowest to highest. I can't tell you what they are now because I don't want to ruin the surprise, but hopefully And this is me being positive, the optimist that I am here on this channel. I'm hoping that Avengers Endgame will top the list. So that's it from me for today, and I'll be back later in the week with more. Make sure you catch the High Council here tomorrow night on World Class Bullshitters, and subscribe to the channel to get all kinds of awesome content all the time. So folks, this is it. Our last time to talk before Avengers Endgame in this video format. And I'm excited. I'm hoping it's going to be good. And most importantly, I want to see an MCU future with less Brie Larson. So folks, go out into the world, consume some entertainment, but most importantly, be excellent to each other.
Bree just has to not screw it up.